Ready to go.
Okay, einen wunderschönen guten Abend, liebe Coaches. Für unsere heutige Zoom-Klinik eine Stunde früher haben wir Coach Brad Arkelian von der Marshall University, wo er aktuell Special Teams Quality Control Coach ist. Coach hat selber am Division I College als Spezialist gespielt und hält auch aktuell immer noch den Rekord aus 2015 für den längsten Punt über 80 Yards in der Division I. Außerdem hat Coach Arkelian gerade in diesem Monat sein neuestes Buch veröffentlicht, das den Titel trägt The Kicker's Bible, in dem er sehr detailliert und in einer ausgezeichneten Weise über Special Teams spricht, über verschiedene Spezialisten spricht. Und Coach Arkelian wird uns heute einen kleinen Einblick geben in dem Aspekt, wie man mit Spezialisten arbeiten kann. So, Coach, it's up to you. I'm excited to hear your talk.
Appreciate that. Man, what an intro. How's it going, guys? First of all, I definitely have to thank Coach Colonia here. This is a big thing for me because my grandfather is the son of German immigrants, and I've always looked up to him and his work ethic. My dad's side of the family has some very strong German roots, so I'm very proud to be of a service to you coaches here, and I will definitely come and visit someday. I saw my boy Coach Stretch out there out of Manchester. Coach, how you doing? And I also saw Coach Phil Fourth Down, Coach Hayes, and I saw how his coach is the Freiburg Sacristans. I might be wrong there, but they went to the AFCA convention in the United States last year. I was there actually too, living in Nashville at the time. But I really respect just how studious and committed you guys are to learning the game. To me, that's really what makes great coaches. Remember, even the best coaches are always trying to learn the newest learning curves and the newest techniques that are coming out. And for me personally, the reason I'm so confident in what I talk about is because I've been able to talk to the best in the game. Guys like David Akers, Shane Graham, all right, who both set NFL records and performed at the highest level in the NFL for 15 to 17 years. But the old coach's proverb, right, is when you think you know it all, that's when you're doomed to fail. So I'm always trying to learn just like you guys. To me, personally in life, you need to have a set of core values. And what I mean by that is I'm always trying to be a man of my word, like to tell the truth all the time and give 100% in everything that I do, be a hard worker. I believe that coaching is the same way. You need to prioritize what's important to you. There's so many different techniques and drills and philosophies that's out there, but you really need to center in on what's very important to you. I did the BAFCO podcast. They're the British American Football Coaches Association with Coach Lewis. He does an amazing job. It's worth a listen. I'll be retweeting it, reposting it in a few days here. But, I kind of went through everything with specialists and kind of just outlined it all out. So for you guys, I want to be more focused on what I think is the most important things to specialists. I know you guys have limited time, so I'm going to give you the points that you can really hammer home and get the most bang for your buck when it comes to specialists. I know specialists play different positions there, all about that. So, yeah. I know you guys in the past have had a lot of Southern coaches and stuff under that real low Southern drawl, but I am who I am. I'm a young coach, and I love to talk ball. I mean, I'm sure those guys know way more than me, but tell me to slow down if I'm talking too fast. I know I'm excitable and a fast talker. So, and like I said, too, leave a message in the chat if you have any questions about what I'm talking about or you want me to go deeper. So just real quick about me, I came from UT Martin, where I played as a specialist, and we had some great successes there. And every time in the springtime, I would go out and talk to coaches all around, learning about different special teams methods, different techniques. I got to talk to some SEC schools, which is one of the best conferences in the United States. And when I was doing that, I hit up Coach Jordan Hankins, who's a phenomenal coach. He coached me, recruited me at UT Martin, and he's now at Marshall University. Really just want to sit down and talk some ball and learn from him. And he ended up asking me, hey, we have this open opportunity here. Would you be, interested? And I mean, I jumped at the opportunity just to work with a great special teams and defensive mind like him, and the tradition and the history of Marshall University. Coach Doc Holliday has been there, for 12 years and had a lot of success. So that was very important to me. So now you can see I got the Joan in the background there. But let's get down to specialist. People ask me, how important is it to really coach your specialist? Let's get something straight, guys. Your specialist is the quarterback of your special teams unit. You could have a great blocking technique, great coverage, guys that fly around and hit people, but you have a terrible punter, okay? You're still going to average 30 yards of punt or 35 yards of punt. You're still going to be bad, okay? It is so important that you have a specialist who has at least the fundamentals down, right? He doesn't have to be a huge guy. I'm not big at all. I'm 5'9" punter, okay? Most guys in the NFL are 6'2" to 6'5". So it's so important to have a great specialist. I don't really know where you guys want me to start. I'll probably just start with field goal, if that's all right with you guys. I'm going to share my screen. I put together a little presentation when I was at UT Martin, and I'm just going to use that. I haven't really updated a whole lot, so bear with me. But there we go. Can you guys see that? Does that work for you? Okay. Thank you, Coach. All right. And yeah, you guys let me know if you want this too. I can definitely send it to you guys. Okay. I'm going to go over field goal, right? And what the three most important things to me when it comes to field goal is, one, boom, your contact point. All right. When you strike the ball in that moment there, it looks like Giorgio Tavecchio is about to strike the ball with the Oakland Raiders there. Everything else can be a little bit off. As long as you still make solid contact there with your ankle locked out. When I say locked out, that's plantar flexion, all right? It's pointed downwards and outwards, all right, like a ballerina, or like someone driving their car and a gas pedal is just slightly turned outwards, okay? That is good ankle lockout or ankle flexion. That is so important to having a good field goal, all right? Also, vertical follow through, okay? There's a lot of – I used to play soccer growing up. All right. And we get a lot of guys, especially I'm sure cross-training different sports, okay, that soccer players that become kickers, they tend to swing around the ball like you're trying to curve a PK around a wall or something, okay? We want to go directly down the field. David Akers, who I talked about earlier, we're going to talk about those railroad tracks, getting your hips to go straight at your aiming point, okay, to give you the best accuracy and most power every time. Okay, and then to me, the third thing is mentality. Man, mentality is being able to be calm in a pressure situation, or being able to be focused when it feels like you're the only one out there on the field and everyone's watching you. So important, so important. So real quick, just the basics. Your goal is 1.2 to 1.3 second operation time. Your steps, you're going to take 3 steps back, 2 to the left. I always start with my kicking foot directly behind the ball. Plant foot, which is your non-kicking foot. We'll say it's the left foot in this situation. You're a right-footed kicker, okay? Aligned about halfway with the ball there to start out. You're going to take your first step with your kicking foot back. 1, 2, 3. Here's a common problem, all right? In my book, I have a ton of common problems our coaches' focuses, all right? As a coach, you can focus on this when they're taking their steps back. A lot of guys think they'll get more power when they're farther away from the ball. Not true, okay? You can get that same amount of power, but we want you to be a little bit closer and more compact. That way you can do the motion over and over again, because any little change, 3 inches here, 3 inches there, and you're going to miss the kick, all right? So do not let them lunge back. And when I say lunge, they're taking huge steps back, all right? Take your normal steps back, all right, a normal length, okay? That way you can replicate it every time, okay? So start with your right foot, right foot back, line everything up. 2 steps to the left, boom, you're ready to kick. All right, let me talk about contact points real quick here. All right. So when I was playing, one of my biggest struggles was keep my ankle locked out, just like we see Giorgio Tavecchio's here. I think might have another. There we go, sweet spot and contact point, okay? Here's your sweet spot, all right? You see where that tape is on the ball in the top right corner? That's where you want to make contact with the ball. It's in line with that white stripe there. If you don't have the white stripe, it's about 1/3 of the way up on the ball, okay? The hardest thing for me was to keep my ankle locked before the kick and after the kick. You'll see a lot of guys will make contact with the ball, then their toe will go up. Keep that toe pointed, okay? I like to tell my kickers, it's like hitting the ball with a wet noodle, a wet pool noodle, or a sledgehammer, okay? What's going to do more damage? The wet pool noodle, when it strikes the ball, you're going to lose a lot of power and it's not going to go anywhere, okay? If your foot, tell your specialist to think of their foot like a sledgehammer, keep it locked out and explode through the ball, keep that ankle locked out there, they're going to have a lot more success and a lot more consistency with that ankle locked out. Like I said, you can make you can put some spit on a ball. All right, actually I have a ball here for you. You can put some spit on the ball to mark that spot. Your aiming point is this inside panel, okay? So if the kicker's looking at the ball, it's for right foot kicker, it's that left panel that he's going to strike in order to make good contact, all right? My second thing was your follow through, all right? David Akers talks about getting your hips to go to the goalpost, right? Like I said, a lot of guys will swing around. You want to strike that inside panel and then keep your leg. When you fall through, your kicking leg should be straight at the goalpost, not swinging around to the left, but straight at the goalpost, okay? That's important. And then your mentality, okay? You know, if you're not mentally strong, you're going to go out there on the field maybe 2 or 3 times a game, maybe a few PATs, all right? And then you're going to feel the pressure because all eyes are on you. One of the greatest advice I've gotten is from Shane Graham. Okay, he played in the NFL for 15 years, most notably with the Bengals for like 6 from 03 to 09. And now he's with the University of Florida as a special teams coach. He told me you have to fall in love with the process. Well, what's the process, coach? The process is you taking those 3 steps back every time, making sure you don't overstride. You visualizing as you take those steps back, the ball going over the middle of the goalpost, all right? You focusing on your breath as you take those steps back. Breathe in. I'm a big meditation guy, so it's breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 4. And just doing that 2 or 3 times over, all right, is going to calm you down and focus you on the task at hand. I think that's so important, all right? I'm going to move on, and we can always go back to field goal, but I'm going to move on to another thing. That way I can just introduce it all to you first. All right, let's talk about punting because I know Coach had a question there about punting. Let's get down to punting. All right, I got my 10 commandments, all right? What are the 10 commandments of punting? I know it's a little sacrilegious here. Hang in there with me, all right? We got stance, hands, body alignment, steps, eyes, grip, drop, leg swing, and contact point and follow through. Now you might say, Coach, what is the most important out of those 10? We only got 5 minutes to work with our specialists at practice. All right, I'm going to say number 1 is steps, okay? If your steps are all over the place, you're going to have a bad punt. We'll talk about that in a second, all right? Your hands and your drop, to me, is number 2, okay? Drop is very important, but also the way you make contact with the ball can fix a lot of things with a bad drop, all right? And then your follow through, just like we talked about in field goal, follow through is the 3rd most important thing to me. All right, let's talk about your steps, all right? Let me see if I can get there. There you go, steps. All right, steps. The thing that every punter struggles with starting out, and Coach Kalani, you had a showed me some clips of your punter. He did a great job, actually. Pretty good steps, right? The one thing I would evaluate him on is to not be so antsy when the ball is snapped, all right? Trust in yourself catch that ball in front and take 2 deliberate steps forward at your target, all right? You don't want to do a lot of picking up and putting down your feet. That's going to create inconsistencies for the punter, right? Guys, put your punter on a line, okay? I don't care if it's a yard line going across a soccer field, like the half line, or just yard lines going across a football field. Put his plant foot in this situation. We'll say he's a right-footed punter. Put his left plant foot against the line, okay? Put his right foot on the other side of the line. It can be a little bit extended. I always say your starting stance should be about shoulder width, okay? The drop goes aligned with that right punting hip, all right? And you're going to drop a little bit outside the line. The main thing you're looking for here, and just have him take his steps and drop the ball. Take his steps, drop the ball. Take his steps, drop the ball. The main thing you want to see is that left foot, that plant foot, is not crossing over the line. When you start crossing over the line, then that leg has to swing around too, and you get inconsistencies. Everything we want to do in kicking and punting is linear, straight up and down, okay? Just like kicking, we want to go straight up and down. Punting, take that right foot, swing to your right ear. We want to be straight up and down. But for example, your steps are naturally going to come together, all right? Get up and walk, all right? Your natural gait, even if your legs start out even shoulder width apart, they're going to come closer and closer together, all right? That's fine as long as that left foot doesn't cross over that line, okay? Then you can be successful, okay? So get your punter, and then after he's done 50 drops, Bradley Pinion, who punted with most recently the Buccaneers, I believe, said he does 200 drops a day, okay? At the end of practice, maybe at the start of practice, have your punter go out there and just drop 100, 150 balls, all right? Just work on walking that line, okay? Being consistent and trying to get that drop to be totally flat. I'll talk about drop in a second. All right, here we go. Now we're going to talk about our hands, all right? Your eyes as a punter need to be keyed in that back tip of the football as it's being snapped to you, right? A lot of guys will have problems with their hands catching the ball out in front, right? I don't want it to get into my chest. I want my hands almost totally extended. So as soon as I catch the ball, boom, right on the hip. The less movement to do with your hands, the better. You guys have slow punters who have bad operation times. Just work their hands, all right? Have a coach get about a good drill is about 7 yards away from them and take the ball in underhand and just snap it as hard as you can right at their chest, right? And they're just working on keeping their hands out in front. Boom, get into the spot. Get into the spot. I had a problem early on in my career of not getting my hands out quick enough and then dropping the ball. You know, a lot of punters will want to keep their hands at their hips. Look, if it helps them, it always helped me, all right? Extend your fingers, all right? No one catches the ball like this. That's how you break a dang finger, right? Extend them, all right? I always have my pinkies together, all right? That way I could just catch the ball and get it to my spot. Catch the ball, get it to my spot. Hands are everything. We can talk about drop. Let's talk about drop real quick, all right? Got the football here for you. When you drop the ball, all right, the first thing is we want it to be flat. I don't like guys who drop the ball up here and got the EIU logo. Get the ball down at your waist level, okay? It's waist. You can be a little bit in between your nipples and your waist, okay? The ball needs to be flat, all right? Your aiming point is that inside panel, that nipple there. I tell my guys to look at the eye in Wilson and hit that inside panel. Now notice, if you're punting right, this inside panel of the ball should fit perfectly on the outside of your foot, okay? Ball shouldn't be too high, okay? Should be balanced. It should be flat. Now, Coach, one thing I was noticing about your punter, dropped it a little early, okay? Had a good drop. The one thing we want to do is hold on to that ball for as long as possible. That way, if you have windy conditions, okay, it won't affect the ball as much. When I'm taking my steps, there's 2-step punters, there's 3-step punters, okay? But we can just keep it simple, 2 steps easy, catch the ball, take a step with your kicking foot, then your plant foot, and get the ball off, okay? When I'm taking my steps, I want to hold on to that ball, all right, until that second that plant foot gets in the ground, all right? The later, the better, because it's less movement on the ball. I don't know if any of you guys have played baseball before, but it's pretty hard to hit a ball that's moving really fast, right? It's even harder if you're lobbing it out there. The way to get a good drop is just release the fingers and go straight down to your hip. A lot of times when you see the ball goes up and kind of lobs outwards, okay, that's because they are pushing the ball out, Just release the fingers and go straight down your hip. All right. And then as far as, yeah, your follow through, right foot to right knee. That's pretty simple. But I want to talk about the legs thing, because Coach Coloni had a question about, does dropping your hips help a punter gain more power? Well, the short answer to that is really no. We want to be as tall and as big as possible, right, to get out and through the ball. If I sit down like I'm sitting down in a chair, I lose all my momentum and power going downward. Okay? I'm sinking down. My power, my energy is going down instead of up and out. I want to stay tall with that leg. All right. We Coach Greg Montgomery punted for the Oilers in 1994. Was an All-Pro there. He has something that I kind of adopted. It's called set knee snap. Set knee snap. What's set knee snap? Your kicking leg will set at a 90-degree behind you. All right. That's the first part of it. All right. So it's almost straight back. Then you're going to knee, like you're going to knee yourself in the chest. All right. So I'm bringing that right knee up, and that knee should be going, boom, trying to hit my chest. Okay. It's going to pass that ball. My kicking knee is going to pass the ball, and then the snap comes in, right? That's your explosion. That's your explosiveness. You're going to snap upwards and out and through the ball. One thing that David Akers used to talk to me about falling through in punts is Pat McAfee. Guys might know Pat McAfee. He's a big football personality now online. And his thing was he would explode through the ball and then finish 5 yards down the field. All right, because that momentum, that energy took him straight down the field. A lot of common errors with your punters that you'll have is they're falling back. And that can be fixed from doing a simple one-step drill where they have their right foot up, their left foot back. They're just going to take one step with that left foot, punt, and then just work on them getting their energy to follow through forward. A lot of that has to do with shoulders staying in front of your hips. I always taught my punters, stick your butt out, all right? Stick your butt out. That way your hips are always behind your shoulders, and that way you can clear them and get out through the ball. If your hips get in front of your shoulders, then you're going to lean back and the ball is going to go straight up there. All right. Let's talk about long snappers. How am I doing, Coach Coloni? You hanging in there with me?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, good. I'm not losing you guys as far as coaching points or anything, am I?
No, it's okay.
Good. All right, here you go, long snappers, right? To me, the biggest 3 things is, number 1, your follow through, all right? Thumbs up, all right? We'll talk about that in a second, but you want to take your snaps directly back at your long snapper and follow through with thumbs up, all right? Your base. To me, the second most important thing is your base. You need a solid base, okay? That's well balanced, okay? And then my third thing would be your elbows or just visualizing, okay? Real quick, let's talk about the follow through. For follow through, Coach, again, you have a fantastic long snapper, man. He was really getting that ball back there. But the one thing I can help critique him on, or something he could probably improve on, is really falling through and trying to take those shoulders through his legs, okay? You want to, when you're snapping, you want to tuck that chin, activate your core, and take your shoulders through your legs so you look like a figure 4. I think I have a picture here from Rubio long snapping. That's the look you want to have, right, with the thumbs out and up and the head through the legs, okay? Be deliberate in your snapping motions, okay? You want to almost imagine as a long snapper with your hands that they're not even connected to your body, all right? And you're trying to throw your hands as hard as you can right at that punter's hip, okay? As you fall through, okay, you're going to be forming a shotgun barrel. When I talk about that shotgun barrel, you see that long snapper's eyes. He's looking right down the aim of the long snapper's hand, or of his hands. That's a shotgun barrel. You should see right down those arms and should be pointing directly at your aiming point. You should be thinking that if that punter wasn't even there, the ball would just keep going on a line for 20 yards, all right? We don't want to see these high loopy snaps. We want a bullet right through that hip, okay? Ty Fricks, who's a great It was a long snapper and wrote a great book that I suggest you guys look at on long snapping. He said the biggest thing for him was follow through. The whole goal, like I said before, is to get the shoulders through the hips, all right, and through your legs, right back at the target. You can see his legs there, all right. When we talked about Coach Kalina, the locking the hips out or getting your hips back. One thing long snappers will do is a common problem for you guys is instead of going straight back at their target, all right, and taking their energy straight back, they'll go up, okay? We don't want to take that energy up because we're losing momentum and power going straight up, right? We want to take it directly back at our target, okay? And part of that is just tucking your chin. First goes my chin, then my elbows, then my arms directly at my target, okay? Second thing to me that's important is the base there. We got a good picture of a base, okay? With everything you do with specialists, you have to have a routine, all right? So the first thing I'm going to tell my specialists or long snappers to do is set the ball down and address it, okay? Addressing it, setting the ball down, taking a few steps back, then walking up to it and getting a solid base, all right? They can take one leg and make sure they're, appropriately spaced out in front of the ball, okay? But have something they do every time, tap their cleats or whatever, okay? When they get in their base, they want to make sure they're sitting down, their hamstrings are parallel to the ground, okay? Rest their elbows on it. They're going to grab onto the ball, take a peek, and then pick their head up, and they're ready to snap, right? When they're peeking, this is the third point I was talking about is visualization, okay? When they're taking their head down and peeking, they should be visualizing that snap going straight to the punter's hip, right in that right hip, okay? And yeah, those are three important points for long snappers there. Let me see. We'll do kickoff. And then if you guys want to talk about holders, we can talk about it too, or we can field questions, whatever you want to do. There we go. All right, kickoffs. Very important, right? Sets the tone for the game. You're really trying to have the other opposing team's offense start back in their territory. Three most important things to me, my values of kickoff, is again contact. Second would be your approach to the ball, and third is the follow through. Okay, when I talk about contact, okay, one of the main things that's different from field goal and kickoffs is the way your kicking foot stays behind the ball, all right, as long as possible, and it lifts and propels the ball forward, all right? Shane Graham talks about your swing is supposed to be a J shape, all right, instead of a U for a field goal, all right? You want that ball to stay behind your foot, or that foot to stay behind the ball and carry out and through the ball. When you're swinging on a field goal, you want that swing to get the ball up as soon as possible, okay? So get that ball up and keep going straight upward like a U. Kickoff's more of a J. You're keeping your ankle locked out directly behind the ball, and you're driving it down the field. You might hit a little bit higher up on the ball. Your approach to the ball. A lot of guys struggle with their approach because their steps are very choppy. All right, I don't like that. You should be very smooth and fluid in anything that you're doing with kicking. So the most important part to me is to find your steps, okay? A way you can do this is start at your kickoff block, all right? Take your field goal steps, okay? Mark it with a piece of tape. Now, go back to that actual kickoff block and turn the other way. So you're facing where you would have started for field goal. Now you're going to take steps over that field goal spot so you have that same angle to the ball, okay? But you're just going to swing whenever you feel like it. There's nothing at the end. You're just making sure. Armin Tarigan always told me, he's my kicking coach, shift like the gears of a car. So the first maybe 2 steps are going to be slow. Next 3, 4 are going to be a little bit faster. And by the time you're making contact with the ball, you're exploding and getting out and through the ball. So this is just a dry run to do that, all right? Then you, as a kicking coach, you're going to mark where their plant foot was, and then they're going to take their steps back to that spot. Okay. I believe it was like 10 or 9x5, 9x4 in my kickoff steps. Again, there's no one right way to do things, but to me, kind of like golf, there is a general rule or general fundamental that you can follow, that you can refer to. And that's why I wrote the book that I wrote, is that way people can refer if they have any questions about what's the general way to do things correctly. All right. One of the biggest things I also think for kickoffs is your follow through. All right. And in the follow through, there you go. In the follow through, the difference is that you're going to land on your kickoff foot. All right. So as you swing, you strike the ball, you dig your plant heel in, you strike the ball. All right. And it looks like, as you can see from that picture there, that you're jumping over a hurdle. Okay. You have so much energy and momentum taking you through the ball that you're exploding off the ground. All right. You're going to land on your kicking foot. And then I tell my guys, carry yourself 10 to 15 yards down the field. Okay. If you can't continue to keep falling through down the field, make yourself run down the field. And this is where a lot of dry runs, I'm a huge dry run guy for two reasons. Okay. One, it gets the fundamentals in their mind without them worrying about where the ball go. Okay. We're not worried at this moment, at the very start, at least, with where the ball is going. I want you to enjoy the process and get to understand the fundamentals first. The second is it saves a lot of reps on your legs, guys. Again, baseball reference. I don't know if any of you play baseball, but you only have pitchers only have a certain amount of pitches they can throw, right? Like as far as reps. Kickers are the same way. You get these kickers that, are hitting 4.0, 10 yards deep kickoffs in August, and all of a sudden by November, they can't make it to the back of the end zone. They can't make it to the 5-10 yard line. So that's a big struggle, I think, and that can easily be corrected by dry runs. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, that's about kickoffs and the follow through there. All right, I'm gonna hit holding real quick, and then I'll field your guys' questions there. Big holding guy, I thought is very important. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask out loud while I'm looking for this?
Yes, we have got some in the chat box, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
On the kickoff, we've got one question. We obviously have a lot of soccer players. Do you have any drills for specifically teaching teachers to kick linearly rather than wrapping their foot around the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think really just dry runs are important, but one of my favorite drills, and this works on for field goal and kickoff, all right, is you're going to take a ball, all right, and you're going to put the backside facing the kicker, okay? Your partner is going to get on a knee, all right, with his shoulder back. You can kind of see the upper part, all right? He's going to be leaning back with the ball against his knee there, okay? And the ball's going to be facing the kicker. So then he's going to turn and he's going to get in like a no-step position where it looks like he'd be striking the ball, starting out with his kicking foot right behind the ball. And he's just going to work on hitting that inside panel. This is his kicking foot. Striking the inside panel and holding that lockout position. Getting used to not wrapping his foot around or curling his toe on the outside panel and trying to force the ball down the middle, right? He's working on that. So your sweet spot on your foot is the metatarsal. It's that big inside bone on the inside of your foot. It's inside the laces part, and it's about where the curve of the top of the shoe is, right? So he's working on just striking the inside panel with that foot, holding the lockout position, okay? Another thing you can do for that is you can go to a goalpost that they have the goalpost wrap around it, the pad, and do that same thing. I used to do it 50 times a day on the pad, just getting used to that lockout feeling on the foot. Does that help you, Coach?
Yes, that's great. And we've got another question about the mentality of your kickers or specialists. Do you work with a mental coach or sports psychologist?
Yeah, absolutely. Any chance I can get to talk to any sort of sports psychologist, I would for sure. Like I said, Shane Graham was one of my uh, guys I really look up to mentality wise. And oh my God, I mean, when he was playing in the NFL, he had a sports psychologist that was very expensive. But he talked to me about some of the different drills he learned. I had a sports psychologist at my Division II school, and believe me, my first season was a struggle. I was in the totally other side of the country, in a place where it was the most unique experience I'd ever been in, away from my family, and I struggled mightily that season. So I was able to sit down with a sports psychologist, and the main thing was making myself comfortable, visualizing I was back home with my father, who would always go kick with me, and he would catch my field goals in the end zone, and just work on visualizing, the successes I'd had in the past. That's what Shane's biggest thing was. He had a video highlight of his 20 best kicks. Okay. This is something I actually talked about in my first podcast episode that'll be coming out soon. His 20 best kicks over and over on his iPad. So anytime he struggled, he'd go in the locker room and go watch that. He'd have his best memory from college football, which is with Virginia Tech, making a field goal that sent them to the national championship game with Michael Vick in 1999, I believe. And he would replay that in his mind. He would, and this is a quote from my book too, he would, a night before practice, he would write out his practice script. All right, I'm going to do 8 field goals on my own, and then 8 with the team, and then play it in his mind, see himself going out to the field, getting dressed, repping it, and just crushing every ball. 44 right hash, 42 left, 37 right, and just absolutely destroying the ball over and over again. So when he got out there, it felt like he'd done it before. To me, that was like mind blowing. Like that's just how nuanced you can be with kicking, with anything in life, that you really take it seriously and you're really about it. So, yeah, great question.
Yeah, great, coach.
Real quick, I'm gonna hit on these holders thing, and then I'll field the rest of your guys' questions here. All right, to me, holders. Okay, it was something I got to do actually my senior year of college. I was always a kicker and a punter, but luckily things changed for the best, I'd say. And I had my first game holding against Ole Miss, first SEC game I'd ever played in, and it was definitely like well, this is something that's pretty exciting. I can remember having my hand in the ground, right, looking at the line, barking up the signals, and I turn around to look at our kicker, and I see 70,000 fans and red shirts going crazy, and I'm like, man, this is wild. Ready, set, and just So anyway, um, hands are the biggest thing. Catching the ball in front, all right? You got to catch the ball in front. Hitting your spot, I believe, is number 2. And then the tilt and the way you hold the ball is number 3. All right. First things first with your hands. You see that picture there of the Bills holder. All right. He's catching the ball out in front, because when he catches that ball out in front, it gives him time to move the laces if he needs to. Now, you know, at the end of the day, I believe short snappers, it's on them. They need to get the laces out away from the kicker every time. Okay. However, you don't have a lot of time to work with that. And I mean, that for short snappers, it's really just turning the ball, the starting point a little bit. All right. If they're normally snapping from right here, okay, and they're getting laces towards the kicker, he might need to start with the ball right there, maybe 180 degrees, and just keep toying with how he starts with the ball in order to get the laces out. However, at the end of the day, the holders have to make him right if he's wrong. All right. So catching out in front gives the holder time to move the ball as he's setting it down. Okay. The spot, and this might be like 1A. All right. You got to hit the spot. If you are 2 inches or centimeters for you guys off, okay, it's going to ruin the kick. He's going to hit the ball in a different spot, and it's not going to be a good strike on the ball. Okay. So you got to put the ball on the spot with the right tilt too. Tilt is important because you can give your place kicker more sweet spot. And what I'm talking about that is the inside panel is the sweet spot for a kicker. Okay, so we as a holder for a right-footed kicker, you want to tilt the ball towards you and a little bit forward. The reason we do that is it opens up that inside panel and gives the kicker visually more of a sweet spot. Okay, that's very important to get the correct rotation there. I could go on and on about holding, but that is just the basics there. So I will open things up to questions. I did see there was a few in the chat. Let me get off this. Yes. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So just like I was saying, David, I think that contact point drill is very important to work, and that's something you can do, 10, 15 times at the start of practice with a partner. Other drills would just be like a no-step drill, a no-step taps. That's what Shane did, and would just work on not even kicking the ball, but keeping your foot locked. Kind of the same thing, but just staying right behind that ball. That's a great question, Coach Colonia. So how do you land or step after the kick on a field goal, okay? So once we swing through the ball, I'll show you a clip here. You want to land on your plant foot, which is your left foot, all right? Gives you more balance, all right? You can kind of stay upright with your chest. And that's the big thing, too. You want a big chest when you're striking the ball to follow through straight towards your target. You want your right foot or your kicking foot to go directly at your target. I'm going to share this. This is actually super cool. It's put together by Brian Jackson, who was one of my kicking coaches. And I can show you guys some film here. Super cool. Check it out on YouTube. I want to show you guys an NFL kicker. Here we go. Here's Chris Boswell of the Steelers. Oops. A lot of kickers will do different things, all right? And definitely if you're a little bit of a taller kicker, you can get away with some things. I'll play it in slow motion here for you guys. I mean, he's huge, right? But very explosive. You watch as he's taking his stance here, right? He's going to give a jab, 1-2. I believe he might be a two-step guy. Yep, jab, 1-2. All right. He's on the middle of his foot, okay? He's not getting too much on his toes. That way he's balanced, okay? He's going to plant directly at that goalpost, lock that ankle out. His eyes are down right at that kicking spot. I had a coach that would always say, kick 1-2. Walter Hicks would say, kick 1-2. When you strike the ball, your eyes want to be on that sweet spot and they want to stay down there and gradually come up. Now, what some guys will do is keep their eyes glued to that spot the whole time and then pop their head up all of a sudden. We don't want to do that. Anything we want to do, we want to do it smooth. Okay. And then follow through to your target. You'll see you have a little skip or a hop there on the kicking foot. Here's Robbie Gould. He's one of the most prolific kickers in NFL history, definitely one of my favorites. He's a two-step guy. So ideally, and believe me, there's many different ways to kick, all right? Many different ways to be successful, all right? We want that back heel to plant, skip forward into your toe, and go straight forward to the goalpost. We don't want to see the kicking leg, your right foot, come outside of your body. Here's Chris Boswell doing a kickoff. I think it'll show you the transition. Now understand he's also 6'3", 6'4", so pretty explosive. Doesn't have to get a whole lot of speed, but he's very balanced, all right, chest tall, and he's finishing about 7-10 yards down the field. Jordan Berry punter. Let me see if I can show you guys some punting things. That's Sam Martin there, yep. So Sam Martin here is working on a directional right punt. Like I was just talking about, you want everything to go directly at your aiming point, railroad tracks, right? Keep your hips going directly down the field, Matt Prater. Whew. Like Matt Prater a lot. Okay, so here's Sam Martin, all right, hitting a right directional punt. You see how he gets his hands to the drop spot almost immediately, right? He catches it out in front, keeps it right on that spot, and then keeps his hips going directly at the aiming point. That's a great question, Coach. All right, here's your aiming point for a long snapper or a short snapper on a field goal snap, okay? I always tell my guys that back knee right there, that back left knee of the holder, that's where he's throwing his hands. Now, the thing that's a little bit different for long snappers on field goals, you're really not using much legs, right? Your legs are a little bit wider, okay? And you're really just throwing your hands at the target. A good drill for this, right, is just to be standing, right? Take your hands how you normally grip the ball. Now, when you're a snapper snapping the ball, I'm left-handed, right? You'll grip it like he does if he was throwing the ball overhand, okay? Then he takes that guide hand, puts it on the middle of the ball. I've seen all different types of holds. There's no one way to hold a snap, right? Your middle finger can be on the seam, can be against the seam, can be on the other side of the seam, all right? Your hands are a little bit coiled, and you're just working on throwing the ball directly at your target. So what I'll do with my long snapper is I'll put my hand up, and he's got to hit it. He's probably 7 yards away, and he's just falling through with his thumbs out and directly pointed right at that hand. I'll move it to this side. I'll move it down low left, down low right. And it just works on getting his hands straight at the aiming point. So you see here the short snapper snapping it right at that back knee. And normally the holder is going to give you a target, all right, of your hand directly out. But yeah, to me personally, I'd rather have him miss over the aiming point or towards the chest, because if he misses out here, all right, that is a problem, because the holder's going to have to fall over, catch the ball, and try to get back on that spot. It's going to be totally all over the place. So getting that ball directly on that knee and right down on the spot is important there. Love Sam Ficken too. Sam Ficken's a big Penn State guy. As far as the mental thing too, there's a great quote by Sam Ficken when he was at Penn State. The way you hit a game winner is by blocking out all the other distractions, right? You shouldn't hear or see anything once you walk in that field. Starts out by looking at the opposite goalpost, right? If we're going in to the 40-yard line here, I'm on the sidelines and I'm turned looking at the other goalpost, right? I'm not even looking at what's going on in the field. And I'm visualizing myself from about 60, 70 yards away on the sidelines, crushing a ball right down the middle of the goalpost, all right? That way, when I turn around and I come to this side 30, the goalposts look 10 times larger, right? We never sprint out to the field, okay? When you sprint out to the field, it causes a alarm in your heart rate, all right, that fight or flight method, and you start to get anxious, okay? Slowly jog about 10 yards behind your contact spot or where the holder's going to be, and then walk those last 10 yards up, visualizing yourself stroking the ball right down the middle of the goalpost. It's hard to see here, but I would take the bottom goalpost and move it on the top and see myself hitting it over the crossbar. I would see a red line aiming at the very top there of the goalpost, and the ball exploding through it. Or I would pick out some stands or that logo there, the M in MetLife, maybe just directly above that, and try to hit the ball as high and as far as possible. Those are just 3 different visualization techniques I use with my kickers and that I found success with. So a lot of different stuff you can do. Visualization. Yeah, I definitely believe talking with like a sports psychologist would definitely do some good. It's to me, it's just another way to up your game. Let's see. How much do you turn your hand holding the ball on the side of the punting foot? Yeah, that's a great question. Your drop, right? Do you have your thumb, middle finger, and the small laces? All right, so I'll get out of this. Okay, so when I drop the ball, all right, there's, again, no one right way, right? There's no one way to drop the ball, okay? But I like to take my thumb, all right, and put it, see if I can show you, about halfway up that left panel, all right? So that would be about 10:30, 11 o'clock, okay? I take my pointing finger, okay, and I put it about 1 o'clock. This is something I talk about in the drop section in my book too. The middle finger I like to line on the seam, okay, at 3 o'clock, and these bottom two fingers on the bottom side of the ball, okay? Yes, great question about the turn, okay? I want to open the ball up a little bit. Let's see if you can see. That way it gives me more sweet spot on that inside panel, okay? Give yourself more sweet spot. That way it'll fit directly on your foot. If I have it totally flat, you don't see as much of that inside panel. So a slight turn on that inside panel to expose more of the sweet spot, I definitely help with. Now, a problem that a lot of guys will do is they'll turn the ball so it's almost like side by side. We don't want that, all right? Then you're taking away all of your sweet spot, all right? It's a slight turn. Great question about the elbow too, okay? I want a slightly tucked elbow. Let me see if I understand that right. So you turn the ball. Yeah. A slightly tucked elbow. I don't want the ball out here, right? I don't want my elbow extended away from my body. However, I want, yes, slightly tucked inside my body, and I don't want my arm locked out, okay? If the ball is locked out and too far away from me, it's not going to make contact on the right part of my foot. A slight bend in my elbow is good along that right hip, having the ball dropped along the right hip, and I'm keeping my hips back. Again, that's one thing. If my hips come forward, even if I have a great drop, great elbow, okay, even if I have that, it's going to catch on my ankle instead because my hips have gone in front of my chest and now I'm leaning back. You don't ever want your putter leaning back. You want to be in aggressive position. I talk about this, I believe, in the field goal and punt sections, is nipples over knees over toes, NKT. All right, I call it nipples over knees over toes. That's your athletic position. If you had to power clean or hang clean, okay, you could do it because you're in an explosive position where you can move from there. So nipples over knees over toes. I'm in an athletic position. I can make a move side to side, or I can, explode out through the ball. A big thing I also talk about is weather conditions and how that affects the ball. The one thing I would tell you guys, I know especially in Europe, you have some different weather conditions, is really making sure that you keep your feet underneath you. A lot of times when you see kickers slip and fall, it's they're lunging at the ball or they're getting too long with their steps, and then they lose the footing underneath them. Right? Keep short, choppy steps. I wouldn't change my steps up that much. I would just really make sure that I'm keeping my feet underneath me in my field goal steps and my punt steps. So, yeah. Hope I didn't ramble there. You guys have any other questions? Love talking ball, man. I can talk ball forever. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I think is important. Mentality, man. Mentality. Oh, and physical training too. Physical training is huge. I don't think you have to hit a ton of balls in practice. There's a ton of workouts that you can do that are explosive, that work on your hips, P90X type stuff. We want to strengthen our legs in all different areas. So not just kicking and going forward, but swinging backwards, side to side, okay? That's something that is not commonly taught or practiced, but I think is so important, is you cannot just get super strong doing squats and power cleans, which are good, but you have to get your legs strengthened in different directions, and that will definitely make you a better specialist. It's very important. So a lot of different stuff. For you guys, though, it'll mainly just be let's hammer the fundamentals, right? And there's the stuff I talked about. So
Coach, we've got another question.
Oh yeah.
If you like to, can you explain how you coach the squib kick?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big squib kick guy. All right, so squib kick is a little different, right? It's mainly different because you're really trying to get an awkward roll that doesn't go out of bounds. To me, you can kind of use more of a soccer method when you're hitting a squib kick. Instead of hitting lower on my ankle or on my foot, I'm sorry, which, that big bone, that metatarsal down to the middle of your foot is normally the sweet spot for a field goal or for a kickoff or hang time. A squib kick is more on your heel. If I can hit the ball on the inside of my ankle, it's a little bit higher up, okay? And almost like you're passing the ball in soccer, right? Your toe might be flexed a little bit up now instead of locked out, okay? Toes a little bit up. And I'm really punching at that ball and just trying to get that awkward roll, as long as you can get it consistently on the ground, but also in the middle of the field, it's going to wreak havoc on teams. I know we've talked about, how successful, back when I was at Smyrna coaching, how successful a squib kick could be every time if you don't have a great cover team, right? And that way you're taking out the best returners from the opposing return team and making, I don't know, a fullback or a lineman field the ball. So yeah, it's less of a high up fall through too. Like I said, it's just almost like a pass. You're keeping your leg low and you're striking a little bit higher on the ball. Still that inside panel, but a little bit more towards your ankle, okay? And you're going to punch it down the field there. So it's a good question.
Great, coach. Great insight you offered us. Coaches, do we have any other questions?
Let me just say, I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing, and just watching that game that coach sent me, man, there's a lot of good stuff going on over there. I'm really impressed at how well you guys have done with the game, and keep it up, because we definitely American coaches notice that, and that's pretty inspiring. I love that. So
thank you, coach. It was game tape from our semifinals game we had last year for the U19 league.
Yeah, who are you guys playing?
It's Cologne. We are the team in white, and the team in green is the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns.
I love it. I love the unicorns. That's an intimidating mascot.
Yeah, that's right. But it was a great game. They challenged us a lot that day, but finally we could win the game and move on to the final.
Wow! Congratulations. Yeah. What was the score?
Thank you. I think 52-31, 28.
Wow. High scoring.
Yeah. They don't score on the second half. We only get some points against us in the first half, and then we figured out a way to stop them.
Shut them down. Lockdown D.
Yeah. We tried to give our best. And then we played the final game against Wiesbaden. Maybe you heard about Wiesbaden. It's a big base from the Americans were there.
Yes.
We played them in the final game at the bowl game for the national championship game.
And they were pretty good, huh?
It was okay. I think the Schwäbisch Hall was the bigger challenge that year. They had a great team, a big offensive lineman. I think all the offensive linemen are so tall. I didn't see such a big use offensive line.
Listen, man, I can tell you, coming from Division II school, and then playing Cincinnati our first game, or I remember being in the tunnel at Ole Miss, and they have their chant that they do, right? And you see all of a sudden these huge guys come walking in the scoreboard, and I turn around to my left, and through the glass you see these offensive linemen, defensive linemen in the SEC. They're 6'6", 320, just freaking hulks of men, and I'm just like, we have to go play those guys, right? And they're like, come on, let's go run down the field. Yeah, man, there's definitely, I know what it's like to be the small guy. So
yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
We have got some big guys too. One defensive lineman got already from our team got already offer from UMass.
Oh, wow.
He's going to D1 school.
That's awesome.
Last year, I think more guys from Germany go over to play college football in the US.
Mhm.
I think in the last year we had one defensive lineman going to Notre Dame. I think 2 years ago, one is going to Penn State.
Wow.
So
That's big time. That's awesome. Keep it up, man.
yeah, I think football develops. That all the social media stuff going on that helps us a lot to have coaches see that we can play over here too, and have some athletes that are worth to offer a collegiate offer too.
No doubt. That's impressive.
Yes, so but you did your job, and you helped us to develop a little bit more, develop to the right direction, and I get I got a lot of out of your talk. Noted some key insights and some things we definitely try to put into to practice our specialists. So it was a great talk by you, and I really appreciate you taking the time and try to help us grow and make the game a little bit better every day here.
Oh, hey, anytime, man. I appreciate it. I'll put up my contact information too. If you guys ever, have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Twitter, Instagram, on LinkedIn. If you want this PowerPoint too, let me know. I'll email it to you. Shoot me an email at icemankicking.com. Yeah, and stay in touch. I'll be doing a Iceman Kicking podcast here where we're interviewing specialists and special teams coaches at the highest level. There's a few out there, and there's a few good podcasts, but nothing that really focused on special teams and specialists. So I can't wait for that to hit the net. And also too, my book is out on icemankicking.com. The Kicker's Bible there. And if you guys use the code Ice Cold Deal, or Ice Cold Deals, I believe, you can get a discount there on the book, especially for you guys. So, hey man, I appreciate all the time, and it's been an honor talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I read the 51st pages of your book, and
What'd you think?
it's a great read. I really like the details, how you break things down, and it's a great, I think it's a great handbook for everyone who likes to start coaching special teams or try to get some new insight. And I really like how you break the things down, and I'm excited to read now the technical part on the different specialists.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I appreciate that. I really try to keep it simple with coaches' focuses and common errors that you might see when you're coaching your specialists. So there's some things you can kind of key into, apart from all the other technique that I really go into great detail about. So, man, yeah, absolutely. Anytime if you guys need help, you just hit me up, find me on Twitter, email me. I'm here for you.
Yeah, I will do that. I hope to continue the contact to you, and I really, really love what you're doing, and I'm excited to listen to your podcast. I listened to some episodes about special teams USA Football did, and I will definitely add your podcast to my podcasting list.
Yes, sir. I'll keep you updated there when that comes out.
Yeah, that's great. I've got a long ride to work, so I can listen 1 hour a day.
There you go. Get a little bit better each day, 1%.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you very much, Coach, and have a nice day. Enjoy your day. Stay safe during this time, and I hope we can continue the talk later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You too, man. You guys have a great day. I appreciate you listening in here.
Yeah, goodbye, Coach. I wish you a nice day.
Appreciate it.
See you. Talk to you soon.